always in depression and always having problems. Those two classes of people, not every one of them, but by the whole, never do anything for anybody else. The reason why rich folks are rich is because they hoard all their money. Somebody said, you know what God thinks of money? Look at the people He gives it to. Money talks, I'll not deny. I heard it once. It said goodbye. Amen. One preacher said, if it costs $100 to get around the world, I ain't got enough money to get out of sight. And then poor folks, you know what poor folks do? They want everybody to do something for them. Amen. I mean, the welfare mentality, man, that's where they sell most of the antidepressants. Amen. They sell them to welfare folks and people that's walking around with little foo-foo in their hand. Amen. Driving a Mercedes and got a winter home and a summer home and a home overseas and one in Fiji and everywhere else. And why ain't they happy? They don't have the life we got. Amen. They don't know what it is to have the best life there is. Amen, amen. And I'm going to tell you something. Living for God and being in the will of God is the best that there is. I told somebody it'd be a crime, it'd be a sin for me to complain. As good as God has been to me, what in the world, how could I complain? Now, I might fuss about some things. I might even fuss about you. But to complain, we ain't got no reason. I'm looking around and hearing some of y'all, you ain't got no reason to complain. God has been good to you. Amen. And let me say, number one, living with your wife joyfully. You can do that. Amen. Me and my little, I call her my little Spitfire of a gal sitting over there. Usually I preach this when she ain't around. So pray for me. Amen. Might get in trouble here in a little bit. But before we even became a real item, we was just starting to see each other. I was living on a place called Tick Ridge. She lived in Hoburg Holler. And she come out to see me. She was driving her daddy's 3-hole Buick. She drove that big Buick. She come over to see me, and we had built a bridge. Me and my dad and my brother built a bridge over our creek. And that bridge, you know, big timbers. She come over there. She seen me. I was mowing the yard. We had 39 acres. And my dad had us mowing most of it with a push mower. Isn't that blessing? Anybody else raised that way? His dad just loved to see a young man sweat. He just loved it. And I was out there working, and she pulled up and talked to her for a while, and then she had to go. Well, she left, and about 5 minutes later, here she came back. But this time, man, kicking up dust, and that old Buick fishtailed as it come across the bridge, and boy, here she come. And she jumped out of the car, and her face was red. I said, what's wrong? She goes, I just seen Freddie up the road. That was her ex-boyfriend. And she said, he smacked me in the face for coming to see you. I know this is a carnal illustration, but you can imagine what I did. I went ballistic. Now, Freddie lived, half a mile up the holler from us? It took me a month to find him. I'd go to his house, and his daddy'd say, he ain't here, Mark. I'd say, if I come here next time he ain't here, I'm whooping you, old man. He said, I won't fight you, Mark. I'll shoot you. I won't fight you. Man, I looked for Freddie everywhere because he smacked my girlfriend. Finally, I found him. He's in town. I pulled up I had a 65 Pontiac Catalina. And they called me the Catalina Kid. I seen him, and you know what made me really mad? My wife's sister was with him. And man, I just blocked him in, and I said, man, you're mine. And make a long story longer. And I finally got him. I was beating his head in. And I heard this voice right next to my ear. And while I got Freddie whooping the tar, I'd give him his comeuppance. These about this far from my head going, get him, get him, get him, kill him, get him. I got to tell you folks, it was love. I knew we were meant to be there. Amen. tell you something. Let me tell you something about my little spitfire of a gal. She's been that way with me ever since. In the ministry, whatever I've done, get him, get him, get him. Amen. We've been places she's amen me more than the men of the church. Amen. She probably out amen some of you. And push come to shove, she can probably take some of you. I've seen her fight. Amen. But I'm going to tell you something. I've got the best life there is. My daddy, when my daddy died, my dad was 84 years old. My dad died. He was married to my mama 61 years. And one of the things I preached over there where it says, the years of our days are 70, if by reason of strength they be 80. Yet is their strength, labor, and sorrow. For it is soon cut off and we fly away. I use those 3 points. My dad's strengths. My dad had some. He was a World War II veteran, decorated. We didn't know how decorated he was till after he died. My dad was a professional prize fighter. And my dad was one of them, he was the old school, like these men sitting here. Amen. They was a different generation than my generation. Amen. Our generation is sorry. Amen. These men have been here ever since I've known the church. They've been here and been a fixture in the church. Amen. I've seen a bunch of my age and younger come and go, like the wind. And my dad's strength, he was faithful. He was honorable. If he shook your hand, he looked you in the eyeballs. Amen. And he meant what he said. He's never late nowhere. My dad'd rather take a whooping than be late somewhere. My dad retired from his job. He had 200 and some sick days built up. Went toward his retirement. He just never, he was sick. He went to work anyway. He'd tell us boys, he goes, oh, you got a little tummy ache, do you? Get out of bed. Got a little headache, you can work with your little headache. These guys now, I feel a sinus cold coming on. I'm calling in sick. Joker. Amen. Chump. Dad, but he was like that. He instilled some of that in us. Talking about my dad's labors and all that. One of my dad's strengths was he loved my mama. And y'all remember, y'all was at the funeral. My mama was sitting right here, and 3 of my brothers sitting right there. One of my brothers couldn't come. Out of the 4 brothers that I have, there's been 12 marriages. They have brought 12 sister-in-laws into our life. They divorced. My oldest brother's been divorced 4 times. I told him one day, I said, we didn't divorce none of them gals. You did. We still love them all. You brought them into our hearts, and we still love them, even though you don't. I told him one day, I said, what are the chances of you getting 4 bad women? He goes, yeah. Then he looks at me and goes, oh. I go, you know what all 4 of these ladies had in common? You. You were the common denominator in all 4 of these ladies. I said, pray tell, could it be you? But I had them right there. I said, every one of them gals you guys love with all your heart. I said, but the difference was no God. No will of God in your life. These folks have been sitting here, been married all these years. You know how they did it? They did it by old bulldog mentality. They did it through the will of God. Amen. They enjoyed their life. They lived for God. They did what was right. Amen. So how do you do right by God? Do right by God's people. Do right by the Lord's church. Amen. Do right towards your preacher. God's liable to touch you. Amen. You realize the people we run across in evangelism and all the folks that we've known that's gotten divorces and splits and splinters and separations, all that. You can see it coming. You can see it 100 miles away. They start drifting away from God. Stop reading their Bible. Stop praying. Stop caring. Amen. Stop. Amen. You come in church, don't speak to nobody. Something's wrong. You can live the best life there is. Amen. Me and my wife still laugh